Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's so good to be here and joining you. My name is Karen Danielson, and I am the Outreach Director for the Muslim American Society Chicago chapter. I have a quick announcement from our organizers, convention organizers. Muslim Legal Fund of America, MLFA, is offering free legal advice clinic today and tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for free legal clinic available to convention attendees. Come to MLFA Free Legal Clinic and get your legal questions answered by some of the nation's top attorneys. Have questions about the FBI, interviews, visas, discrimination, family law, immigration, civil rights, or criminal law. This is where you need to be. Room S101B. Now for our topic for today. This is the Interfaith Symposium. This is the joint Interfaith session. We have joining us interfaith leaders from around Chicago and the globe. Globalization and the media have centered secular materialistic worldviews that react to and sensationalizes the differences rather than embracing the diversity and affirming the coexistence among all peoples and faiths. Political tensions and nationalistic agendas have brought violence, poverty, and significant human rights injustices. They are affecting all of us more and more every day. People of faith communities, in particular, must fend off this dichotomous approach of political ideologies, the us versus them, in order to create an environment and a society where justice and safety is afforded for all. Brian D. McLaren wrote a book entitled, "Why Did Jesus, Moses, the Buddha, and Muhammad Cross the Road?" invoking that anti-humor that we all know. Why did the chicken cross the road? Depends who you ask. If you'd asked Shakespeare, he might have said, "That is not the question." If you asked Sir Isaac Newton, he might have said, "Did the chicken cross the road, or did the road move beneath the chicken?" If you asked Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, he might have said, "Did I miss one?" Why did Jesus, Moses, the Buddha, and Muhammad cross the road? It is to elicit a simple but meaningful response so that they could cross together, thus giving the interfaith community directive towards cooperation. The Qur'an reminds us in the following verse, "To each religious community there is a goal to which it faces. Then strive all together towards all that is good wherever you are." I'd like to bring to the podium our first speaker and presenter, Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid, president of Sound Vision and Radio Islam. He was selected 5 times as one of the 500 most influential Muslims in the world. He is the board chair of the Parliament of the World's Religions. Imam Mujahid also chairs the Burma Task Force USA to stop the genocide of the Rohingyas. Imam Abdul Malik.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you. It's good to be with you. Thank you so much, Sister Karen Nelson, for organizing this particular program. You know, just a couple of months ago, actually a month ago, when there was a conference in Paris about the climate change, in 2,000 cities, there were people marching, asking people to make right decisions. Who were the people marching in downtown Chicago? I tried to figure out. these were people of different faith working together for a common cause. Before that, and almost every day, Black Lives Matter, such an important issue. Just yesterday, a young person, mentally disturbed person, and a lady lost their lives. So who marches in downtown Chicago asking for citizens to have oversight on when police commits these type of crime? These were people of interfaith. Just a couple of nights ago, I found out a hotel, next to a hotel in Houston, there was a small mosque which was burnt down. And I looked and I realized just about a month ago I prayed there. Beautiful mosque, elegantly decorated. Who were the people from the neighborhood who arrived first? These were people of faith. People of faith are good people. They do good things in the society. We must recognize that, we must appreciate that, and we must devote our resources and time to work with them. I will share with you what is interfaith. Interfaith is not a complex thing. It's neighbors working with neighbors. That's what interfaith is. The mission of interfaith movement, sometimes people are confused what interfaith does. Very easy. They cultivate harmony among the world's religious and spiritual communities. Why do they do that? To foster their engagement with the world and the guiding institution. For what purpose? In order to achieve a just, peaceful, and sustainable world. Is it too difficult to understand? And that's the call of interfaith. Faith and interfaith is source of power. Way before America showed up, federal government, to help people in Katrina, who were the people there? They were people of faith. Muslims were taking care of 28,000 people, feeding with them. And we sent money from Chicago. There were Catholics and the Baptists and the Lutherans and Hindus and the Sikh community and Buddhists, everyone working with each other to take care of their neighbors way before the government showed up. So this map will give you an idea that it's not a small network, but it needs to be better organized, and it is looking for people who can commit to that. So I'll give you one example of success. Right here in Chicago, Cardinal Bernardine, Catholic leader of the city, he invited different groups. And something began there with the relationship of Muslims and Catholic. And then Jews and other people became part of it. And Illinois was at the 48th level when it comes to taking care of health care, way before you heard the term Obamacare. And in this particular map, you can see how mosques, which are part of Council of Islamic Organization, working with Catholic Archdiocese, gave birth to something called United Power. And it has some other synagogues in there, part of it, and it has many other things. Just working for less than 6 months, and I'm proud to be the person who gave this proposal, we lobbied to Illinois General Assembly, and the governor signed into law that all kids under 18 will be covered when it comes to health care. When people work with each other for the common cause, they achieve success. So this is one of the examples. Another example I like to give you is the example, rape has never been declared a war crime in the human history. Never. Geneva Convention 1, no. Geneva Convention 2, no. This convention or that convention, never rape was considered a war crime. Such a horrible thing. It was the masjid in Chicago who convened together. Then we develop alliances. So you can see in this map, mosques working together under Bosnia Task Force USA, which was I was honored to chair, which was housed at Sound Vision, and working with the National Organization of Women. We have demonstration in 100 cities. And beautiful conversation took place. National Organization of Women were saying that any woman with that thing on the head, it's not going to go on this stage. So there were multiple dialogues built into it. And then we worked together. First law conceived by Muslims right at Sound Vision, at the Bosnia Task Force USA, working in coalition with all the faith communities. First time in human history, you have credit of it, but working together in coalition, the strategy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to deliver for humanity. It went on to the United Nations, and first time in human history, it became an international law. So what I would like to say is lesson learned. Interfaith brings neighbors together to achieve goals for common good. American mosques, like the black churches of the 60s and the 70s, must be critical component of interfaith movement and peace and justice movement and the civil rights movement. Interfaith movement can help develop new coalitions among Latinos and the black community, so we all work together for the common good. Hate is rising, my brothers and sisters, in this country, hate, fear, and anger. But guess what? People of love in brotherly and sisterly relationship are rising as well. Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me? Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Our next speaker, the very Reverend Thomas Bayma, Vicar for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs of the Archdiocese of Chicago. He has served as editorial advisor for the Journal of Chicago Studies, which published the spring 2008 issue, Catholic-Muslim Dialogue, Reflections and Perspectives. Please welcome to the podium the very Reverend Father Thomas Bayma.
Peace be with you. We've been asked to speak about the motive that each of our religious traditions has for interreligious dialogue. There are two places from which a Christian takes the motive for dialogue. One is what I call the common motive, and the other the particular motive. Different Christian churches will favor one or the other, and I'm sure that may be confusing for you. Both motives have value. Both offer us distinct motivations. Let me explain. The common motive for dialogue is the recognition of our shared humanity and a set of shared beliefs in the one God. But because the full identity of a religion lies not in the common, but in its unique beliefs, I would argue that we must add to this a particular motive, which allows us to find each other in our own doctrine. The common motive is useful as a basis for tolerance in civil society. But as a religious person, I don't want to be merely tolerated. I want to be known and respected. And I guess you would feel the same. The common motive can provide a foundation, but we can't construct the edifice of dialogue on it alone. For that, we need a particular motive, which can only emerge from what is unique in our own respective religions. Recently, the movie The Letters debuted in theaters. It's the story of Mother Teresa of Calcutta. In the movie, there's a depiction of a famous conversation that she had with a terminally ill man in one of her hospices. He asked her, "Why are you doing this? I'm a Hindu, and you're a Christian. Why do you care?" Mother Teresa's response reveals the particular motive we have for dialogue. She said, "Because I see Christ in you." Here's one part of the mystery of a Christian's identity, that in serving another human being, we are actually serving Jesus Christ, who said, "Whenever you do this for the least of my brethren, you do it for me." The most distinctive doctrine in Christianity, and the one which divides us most directly from Muslims, is also the doctrine in which Christians can find the strongest motive for interreligious dialogue. Because Christians believe that the eternal Word became incarnate in Jesus, every human being we meet offers us an encounter with Christ. My hope today is that by understanding the mystical union Christians seek with Jesus, that you might understand that when we are at our best and being most authentic to our Christian faith, then, following the example of Mother Teresa, our relationship with you and everyone else we meet in dialogue is an occasion for us to serve the one we praise as Lord.
Our next speaker is a founding member of Jewish Voice for Peace, the Jewish Voice for Peace Rabbinical Council, founder of the Open Hillel Rabbinical Council, which works to bring Palestinian voices to Jewish Hillels on college campuses. Please welcome Rabbi Michael Davis.
Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum. Peace be with you. Thank you for opening your house to other faiths. I am here today as a Jew. I am here as a rabbi and as a teacher of other rabbis. As a professor at a rabbinical seminary, I teach that Judaism was not formed in isolation from other religions and cultures. For centuries, Judaism's most influential scholars were Arab Jews. Most famously, 900 years ago, Musa ibn Maimun, known as Moses Maimonides, the greatest rabbi since Moses, our teacher, learned Greek philosophy, Aristotle and Plato in their Arabic translation. Ibn Maimun wrote his preeminent philosophical and religious works in Arabic. As far back as the Bible and throughout 3,000 years of Judaism, Jews have lived alongside other faiths and peoples. Judaism was conceived as a way of life that shares the world with others. My mother was born in Vienna, Austria, not long before the Nazis came to power. Quakers working with Jews brought her to England, thus escaping the Holocaust. Some 9,000 other young Jews and more were saved in this manner. I would not be here today if not for this blessed collaboration between Christians and Jews. That is interfaith in action. For much of our history, Jews were a minority in numbers, of course, but more importantly, a minority with regard to our legal rights. The Bible teaches us, remember that you were once slaves. Therefore, we must seek justice for others and treat others with compassion. We are called to stand in solidarity with others. A few miles to our north in downtown Chicago was where 2 summers ago I marched as a Jew with thousands of Palestinians and allies in support of the victims of Israel's war on Gaza. Downtown Chicago is also where I co-led a national group of Jewish and Christian clergy in support of the Hyatt hotel workers who are campaigning for a fair contract. My work as a rabbi is to live and teach this Jewish heritage of interfaith through action. We seek our redemption through this work. This is what my tradition teaches me. I admit that I do interfaith work also because it's fun. It allows me to step outside my own circle, my bubble. It enriches my life. I speak for the 200,000 members and supporters of Jewish Voice for Peace. We vigorously object to the targeting of all Muslims through surveillance and other state mechanisms. We are committed to fighting Islamophobia. We do this as Jews because it is what our faith and our traditions teach us. We are proud to stand with you Jews and Muslims living a life of peace. In the name of Allah, Elohim, the God of peace, Shalom, Salam.
Our next speaker, another big person here in Chicago, I have to tell you, organizing such a symposium, there's a lot of opportunities for things to fall through the cracks. But without the commitment of our wonderful speakers joining us today on this stage, we really wouldn't have a complete symposium. And I feel like while there may be some faiths missing, this is really a reflection of those who are committed, those faiths that are committed. Our next speaker is the co-executive director of the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago, the CRLMC. Reverend Dr. Stanley Davis Jr. is also the executive director emeritus of the Chicago and Northern Illinois region of the National Conference for Community and Justice. Reverend Davis, please.
Assalamu alaikum. In case you hadn't noticed, we're in a political season with an election cycle that seems focused on the politics of fear. One candidate who represents a good portion of one political party holds up scorn, fear for women, the disabled, Mexican Americans, African Americans, and those who follow certain religions, such as Seventh-day Adventists, and of course the total Islamic community. Not too many folks left. This is like what I experienced as a child growing up during World War II here in America. The same kind of fear-mongering went on, which included Americans of German, Italian, Japanese, and Jewish ethnicities and religion. What to do? In recent days, I reminded myself of the wisdom of a political leader named Thomas Tip O'Neill. O'Neill was elected from a district in Boston, Massachusetts, where he served in the United States House of Representatives for 34 years. He became Speaker of the House from 1977 to 1987. In his biography, he talked about his 1935 campaign for Cambridge, Massachusetts City Council. Quote, "This was the only race I ever lost in my life, but in the process I learned a valuable lesson. By not working hard enough in my own neighborhood where I received very few votes, I missed a natural constituency. So I learned," Representative O'Neill said, "all politics is local." So my message to all of us is, the most effective interreligious relations are local. While it is important to work on international, country, and regional levels to truly offset current fear-mongering by any political candidate in any party, in any group or individual, we as interfaith leaders must go local. Local is a slower process. This is a call to challenge the root of prejudice and hate based on the fear of the unknown. For it is by sharing our faith with others, without attempts to proselytize, that we slowly dispel the fear factor. Unless we give understanding of faiths other than our own to our congregants in pews and on prayer rugs, we will not overcome the politics of fear that grips our country right now. We need to share our humanity, our civic engagement, our goodwill, and our deep faith in God to our relatives, neighbors, and congregants. We need to find venues where folks from different faith traditions can come together to learn about each other's faith commitments. what we hold in common, upon those things that we differ. How can we work together locally to show our common concern for the common good? What Dr. Ramadan said at lunch is we must be, as interfaith leaders, witnesses to our society, to move us from we are, not to us or them. Council of Religious Leaders that I'm privileged to work for develop strong relations between its members so that they can train local leadership in establishing venues for local religious activities that counter this fear of the unknown. My Christian faith commands me to do this. Simply put, Christianity is focused on actions to show God's love by loving our neighbor. As one of our faith traditions in the Council of Religious Leaders sums up their understanding of Christianity, they say, we are called to act for the glory of God and our neighbor's good. This is our challenge. This is our call from God. Salam.
Our next speaker, Dr. Robert Henderson, serves on the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'i of the United States. His initiation and direction of the study, Models of Unity, resulted in a landmark analysis of intergroup unity in the Chicago metropolitan area. He is also coming to us from the Board of Trustees of the Parliament of World Religions. Robert Henderson.
Peace be with you. Allow me to greet you in the words of Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, who wrote, "Blessing and peace be upon him, the Prophet Muhammad, through whose advent Mecca is wreathed in smiles, and the sweet savors of whose raiment have shed fragrance upon all mankind. He who came to protect men from all that would harm them in the world below. Exalted, immensely exalted is his station, above the glorification of all beings, and sanctified from the praise of the entire creation." Baha'u'llah's teachings instruct all Baha'is to consort with all religions with amity and concord, that they may inhale from you the sweet fragrance of God. His writings say, "O ye children of men, the fundamental purpose animating the faith of God and his religion is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race, and to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst all humankind. Suffer it not to become the source of dissension and concord, of hate and enmity." Baha'u'llah says that all souls are created from the same dust and should therefore strive for unity. He writes, "O children of men, know ye why ye were created from the same dust? That no one should exalt himself over the other. Ponder at all times in your hearts how ye were created. Since we have created you all from one same substance, it is incumbent upon you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, to eat with the same mouth, and to dwell in the same land, that from your inmost being by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. Such is my counsel to you, O concourse of light. Heed ye this counsel, that ye may obtain the fruit of holiness from the tree of glory." And last, emphasizing the theme of unity and oneness. The Baha'i writings say, "Ye are all the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch. For this reason, all human beings must powerfully sustain one another and seek for everlasting life. And for this reason, must the lovers of God in this contingent world become the mercies and the blessings sent forth by that clement King of the seen and unseen realms. In this day, handeth round the cup of faithfulness, that we become a jewel of bounty, and lendeth a hand even to our fallen oppressors. We are advised to be sincerely kind, to let each one become a center for God's love, and to let each one do some good to every person whose path he crosses. And last he says, O friends of God, that the hidden mystery may stand revealed, and the secret essence of all things may be disclosed. Strive ye to banish the darkness forever and ever. It is in this spirit that we offer you the greetings of these Baha'i writings, in the hope that all of us can work together to advance our common interests and the ever advancement of civilization. Peace be upon you.
Although I've just met our next speaker, I look forward to some more time working in interfaith work with her, particularly on Islamophobia. Jasvir Kaur, board member of the Sikh Outreach Community Services, which serves the local Sikh youth and seniors and coordinates efforts to feed the needy. She is the co-founder of the Sikh Healing Collective, and she volunteers globally and locally in disaster relief efforts and on medical missions with various organizations. Please welcome Jasvir Kaur.
Assalamu alaikum, and Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, meaning the pure ones belong to God, as does victory. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was the founder of the Sikh faith, that is the 5th largest religion in the world. He taught that we can discover oneness and humanity by engaging in dialogue. Interfaith dialogue minimizes conflict that plagues our community and our society. It cultivates awareness so that we can learn from one another. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was a pioneer of interfaith dialogue. He traveled all over, including to Mecca and Medina. He went to Kurukshetra, he went to Tibet and other holy places to engage in dialogue. He talked to yogis, he talked to peers, he talked to sants, not to convert them, but to remind them to be good Muslims, to be good Hindus, and to know the true essence of a religion. To forsake ego, hatred, and inequality. Sikhism believes that we should respect one another, irrelevant of faith, gender, and it is not to convert. Our holy book, Guru Granth Sahib, contains divine hymns of our gurus, but also it contains hymns from other faiths as well, including Muslims and Hindu saints, that delivers the message of equality, compassion, of one God, and loving each other. Today, that message of interfaith dialogue is just as important it was when Guru Nanak Dev Ji was around. It is by recognizing the principles that unites us. It brings us closer to unity and experience of God, experience of oneness. Thank you.
Our next speaker is somebody who I've worked with for the last couple of years. We began working on a covenant of sorts, a covenant for our two communities, a covenant that would help our communities learn more about each other, understand each other, develop mutual respect and such. Reverend J. Moses is the pastor of Hope Presbyterian Church in Wheaton, and he comes to us serving as the Presbytery of Chicago representative. He serves the Committee for Interfaith Relations and as the Muslim Relations Coordinator for the Chicagoland at the Presbytery of Chicago. Reverend J. Moses.
I just have to say that folks ask me what Presbyterian means, and it's from an ancient Greek word that says man who says jokes at the wrong time. I was asked as far as what brings me to interfaith engagement in my life and with my convictions, and I have to ask you what a pastor would do on a Sunday morning dressed as I am 50 years ago. And look at where I am today. And I learned to say, Assalamu alaikum. And you come to one of the biggest Muslim conventions of the nation, and here you are hearing a Presbyterian chattel up here. We live in a different day where one tradition cannot be enforced on others. And as far as a theological understanding or where the sacred is in all of this, it seems to be what God has intended in some way. In my tradition and in many traditions, it's believed that humanity was formed out of wind or spirit or breath. And breath is so valuable that even when a child is born, you kind of wake him up a little bit. Women, you all remember what we do? We kind of wake him up until we hear him cry. So we know that wind or breath is in them. And at times of darkness, or what we call a political year, we like to get together with other folks who breathe as well, to remind us that the promise of God, of our Maker, what brings us together, is that there is life for all of us, and that it is a grave concern when the breath of others goes out amongst us. Karen has mentioned the covenant that the Presbytery of Chicago has made with the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago. It's a wonderful thing we've done. It took years to do. But I want to say in closing here, I want to bring up the one thing that's brought me here today, which is called the Ibrahim Antar principle, which is that Ibrahim Antar invited me to come and that he is my friend, and that we got to know each other and continue our relationship in our house, in our home, and where we live. And that is what we all must do. Interfaith is not interfaith. It is simply getting to know the image of God in our neighbor. Salam.
Thank you, Jay. Jay did mention the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago, which their office was great in helping assist forming this interfaith symposium. Without their dedication, we could not have brought such a great symposium. I do want to tell you that before we came to this main stage, we were able to have a nice luncheon with Dr. Ramadan. We have sitting in the front few rows in this VIP section several of our interfaith guests from different denominations and different faith backgrounds. And it was a great learning experience to learn and listen to such a great leader as Dr. Tariq Ramadan. After this session, we're moving back to the 100 hall in rooms S103 and 105 for 2 more sessions. You are open and you're welcome to come and join us. They are open sessions. The first one in 103, they're in your program book. It is Islamophobia, hate, and racism. And the other one is interfaith communities for social justice. So please join us there. We have 2 more speakers and then a special announcement. Please don't miss it. Our next speaker, Dr. Marcenia Richards, pastor at Life Center Ministries. former executive director of the Peace Coalition Against Violence, where she worked side by side with Father Flagar at St. Sabina. Marcenia is also the founder of Fierce Women of Faith, an interfaith coalition of women advocating for peace here in Chicago's inner city. Dr. Marcenia Richards.
Peace to you. Thank you. Fierce Women of Faith was organized to demonstrate that which divide us can also be that which unite us. We understood that we must become stronger than the powers that divide us. We understood that the opportunity is now to create a unified voice. So as Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, as Jewish sisters and others, we seize the opportunity to unite. We seize the opportunity to create peace, to seek reasons to work together, to build together, and to intentionally be involved in each other's community. If we miss this opportunity to unite, we may be forever divided. There could never be another opportunity given to us. It is for our children and our grandchildren. For those of us who are here today, we're on the cutting edge, and we have been given a challenge. And that challenge is, in spite of persecution, we must unite. We must find a way to be included in each other's history. Muslims, Christians, Jewish, Buddhists, Baha'i, and others. We must unite. The world is watching. Together we can rewrite history. Together we can accomplish more. Together we can create change. Together we can save more lives. Together people will listen. Together we can create hope for humanity again, because together we are better. Together and united, we are better together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marcenia. Our next and final interfaith representative for this joint session is Reverend Dr. Mark Swanson, the Harold S. Vogelar Professor of Christian Muslim Studies and Interfaith Relations and Associate Director at the Center of Christian Muslim Engagement for Peace and Justice. He is an ordained pastor of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America. Dr. Swanson.
Peace and blessings be with you all. I am pleased to bring greetings from friends at the church-wide office of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Our presiding bishop, the Reverend Elizabeth Eaton, recently wrote an open letter to the Muslim American community, which reads in part, and I quote, "Together with you, we are committed to building a strong society based on the dignity of each human being, the value of diversity, the holiness of creation, and the common good. We pledge our partnership." Why do we do this? In part, I believe our interreligious engagement is in response to the direct commands of the Bible. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. In addition to these clear commands of the Bible, however, there are the biblical stories that Christians read all the time, stories that form us, stories in which the one who brings help or blessing or a needed word of truth is someone from outside the immediate familiar community. The most famous story of this kind is Jesus' parable of the Good Samaritan, in which it is the religiously different and sometimes suspect Samaritan who proved neighbor and helped the man who was robbed, beaten, and left half dead by the side of the road. My own favorite story of this kind is one that Christians read around this time every year. It's the story of the Magi, visitors to the infant Jesus, who are not, in fact, the three kings of legend, but rather, according to the text, mysterious star watchers from the east, who, according to St. Matthew, were the first to come and pay homage and bring gifts to the infant Jesus. How extraordinary! I think that such stories are urging those who read them to look up and outwards, to pay attention, and to be ready to meet with gladness the new friends that God places upon our way, with whom we will share blessings. And I thank you for this opportunity to share blessings today.
Okay, so this is our panel. It's really a great panel, but there is one more thing to share with you all this afternoon. Dr. Marcenia Hawkins, who recently demonstrated her solidarity with American Muslims, a professor at Wheaton College, donned the hijab and has received quite a bit of social media attention, mainstream media attention. Because of Wheaton College and the history of Wheaton College, I'll leave you to go look that up. It's quite fascinating. We decided that we would like to invite her to today and offer her an award for her courageous solidarity with American Muslims. Dr. Marcenia Hawkins went to Oklahoma to visit family and told us that she wasn't able to come. Then she said, you know what, I am going to come. And then her family got on her case and told her, no, you have to stay with us, it's the holidays.
Outside of my embodied solidarity with women in the hijab, it was necessary to add the modifier Muslim in front of brothers and sisters to call attention to your specific plight at this time. That is, to highlight the religious, racial, ethnic, and gendered bigotry that currently abound in the freest nation on earth. Sadly, exclusion is nothing new where this country is concerned. Just ask my grandmother who went to the March on Washington, not knowing whether or not she would return alive, but thought standing in the gap for her children and for her future grandchildren and other brothers and sisters worth the risk. Just ask my parents, among the first classes of students to integrate the University of Oklahoma, where I would later attend graduate school. Exclusion is nothing new in our country, but then again, neither is embrace. You see, all along the civil rights road, my grandparents and parents were embraced by other good souls, religious and non-religious ones alike. People created in the image of God who believed that our humanity unites us more than divides us. And people who believed that embodying our country's ideals meant more than simply standing apart. It meant standing together in solidarity and suffering. The hideous nature of the rhetoric that spews forth from the mouths of politicians who shall not be named by me because they are actually irrelevant to our polity. Their rhetoric is not the final word. As a political scientist, I care about good public policy and elections, but what I care more about than either is modeling love of neighbor as the greatest command of Jesus requires. I happen to be a Christian who loves you, my neighbors who happen to be Muslim, because you, like me, seek peace and light and justice on our journeys of faith. May God bless you, and may God bless your conference. Thanks for your generosity towards me, and thank you to all my Muslim friends and brothers and sisters across the world who have sent encouraging notes during this trying time in my life. I love you. Amen.
Dr. Marcenia has a couple of colleagues in the audience joining us today for the Interfaith Symposium. I'm going to call them out. Professor Matthew Milner and George Kalantris from Wheaton College. She sends one last text message, and please tell them that I will continue to wear the hijab as solidarity until God says differently, that I am honored to stand in solidarity with the American Muslims and also honored to accept this award. We thank all of our participants. I'd like to bring you forward and join me closer to the podium. I ask you, please, to recognize and thank our panel, our joint interfaith solidarity panelists. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this afternoon. Please join us in 103 and 105 in the South Building for more of today's panel.